and welcome to my first episode of the Four Boys and an NL Girl podcast. I am sitting right now in beautiful Newfoundland and Labrador, which is the most easterly province in Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm lucky enough to live in a house where we look out over Torbay and Torbay Head, so I can see the ocean right from where I'm sitting right now. I'm being visited by my lovely cat Bella, who apparently wants to be videotaped as well. We have two cats, Bella and Angel, in our house. We also, as my title of my blog and podcast indicates, I live with four boys, three of which are ages 9, 7, and 4, almost 5, and my husband, who he gets lumped in with the boys as well. I'm the only girl, except for our cats. They're two girl cats as well. And here comes the other cat just to check things out, because I'm over here talking to myself, so obviously I must be talking to them. So I've got a little bit of a plan for this morning's podcast. I have a list that I'm going to be referring to on a regular basis to make sure I stay on track. This is the first time I've done this, so I'm quite nervous, so hopefully this is going to work out. And I'm also quite nervous about editing this podcast, so hopefully I will have success with that and actually get it posted on YouTube, which is really exciting. First, I'm going to start off with some finished objects. So I guess I should first talk about, just briefly, about what this podcast is going to be about. It's going to be about making all the things. So I'm going to be talking about all the things that I am involved in making. So there's going to be some knitting content, crocheting, rug hooking, sewing, cross stitching. So it's going to be basically, I make a lot of different things. And so this podcast is going to incorporate a lot of those things and show off, I guess, show you or anybody who's going to be watching some of the things that I'm involved in making. And I'm not going to be showing you something from all of those things every week or every 2 weeks or however often I post, but I'm going to show a few of those things each time that I do post. So I'm going to start off with a couple of finished objects that I'm really excited about. The first one is called the shawl collared cowl. So this is something that I've knit. It's made out of 100% alpaca, so it is just gorgeous and squishy and woolly and smells so nice. And I picked up some moose antler buttons. Hopefully you can see that. These are to go on the cowl. And this pattern is by Alana Dacos, I think is how you pronounce it, the shawl collared cowl. This is a gorgeous pattern. I would really recommend purchasing patterns from Alana. The pattern was very easy to follow. I loved how it turned out, and this is actually the start of my Christmas gifts this year. So hopefully the person who's going to receive this, if that person is watching, doesn't guess that it's for them. So that's my first finished object. The yarn that I used, like I said, was 100% alpaca, and it's by, I can't remember, and I forgot to get the tag. So I'll have to put it in my show notes if I can figure out how to write show notes. My second finished object, I'm also very excited about because it is my first shawl. Here it is. It's the Spindrift Shawl by Helen Stewart from the Curious Handmade podcast and website. I knit it out of Sweet Georgia yarn that I had purchased while we were in British Columbia this summer. And I knit it in 10 days, which is an absolute record for me. I am not a fast knitter. I would consider myself kind of a beginner intermediate knitter. So attempting lace and this kind of project was actually a little bit scary, but I loved it. And I think I'm going to be knitting more shawls in the future. I love how Bella is sitting up here so prettily, like an ornament. You my ornamental cat? Anyway, this is how much I had left of my from my shawl. I can't find the tag, so again, I'll have to see if I can figure out how to put that on the screen somewhere, if I get that fancy. I have this is about almost 3 grams left over, so I'm hoping it's enough to work on a pattern that I've heard about, the Cozy Memories blanket, or Mina Phillips's Memories blanket, or something like that, so I'll keep you posted as to where that goes. Now, I also have a hoe this week. This is, I've kind of called 2016 my year of the sock. I have knit previously 2 pairs of socks, neither of which I was happy with. So one pair is too short for my foot, so although I do wear it, it's not that comfortable. The other pair I have has such, where I picked up stitches, the holes are so large that I find the sock quite breezy and not really comfortable. So I decided this year that I wanted to learn how to knit socks and become comfortable with knitting socks. So I have knit, so far this year, this would actually be my 3rd sock. This is the How I Knit My Socks by Susan B. Anderson. It's, I don't have sock blockers yet, so it's not blocked and it's not being displayed with a fancy sock blocker. The cuffs, toe, and heel are knit in Lorna's lace sock yarn, and the main body of the stocking is actually a hand-dyed yarn from Richard DeVries. It's the Pippin, I think it's called Pippin colorway. Let me look if I can find that. So I had said that it is, the colorway is Mango Merlot, and it is the Pepino yarn that Richard DeVries dyes up, and it is gorgeous. 100% merino, fingering weight, hand painted, and 225 yards on the ball. So there wasn't enough. Basically, I purchased the Lorna's lace yarn a number of years ago, and I didn't have enough. I bought it before I knit socks, so I didn't realize I needed 100 grams of yarn to make a pair of socks. I only had 50 grams, so I've combined these 2 yarns, I think, to make a gorgeous sock. And this one, I'm happy to say, fits beautifully. So I said this is my 3rd sock. I've started the 2nd of this pair, but I also have 2 more socks that were kind of my practice socks. So see, I just have a mustache version. It's just have a mustache amount of the 2nd sock there. I had the other 2 socks I knit, I'm not going to show you. I need to frog them. I need to rip them out and restart them. So they were 2 practice ones. The first one I knit on slightly smaller needles. I think I used a 2 or a 2.25 millimeter, and the fabric's quite firm, more firm than I would prefer. So I wanted to take that one out. And in that one and the other one, I have so many mistakes, and those were my learning socks, so it's fine. And I don't mind having to rip them out and redo them. Because I want to have socks similar to what my mother knits, because my mom is a beautiful sock knitter. She knits socks for everybody for Christmas and birthdays. She's really, really good at it. I love her socks. I wear them all the time. So technically, I don't need to make socks for myself, but I really want to knit socks. And I want to knit socks as well as my mother, although obviously I need many more years of experience. And I want to be able to give them away for presents. And I really want to knit a pair for my husband for Christmas this year. And he has very large feet. I think he's a size 11 or a size 12. So it's going to be a big commitment. And I wanted to make sure that I knew how to knit socks well before I went down that path. So that is my hoe for the week. Now I'm going to talk about what's on my needles. So So this is my first project bag that I've ever made. It's, I'm really happy with it. It's a bit small for a sweater project. It's really too small for a sweater project, but I'm putting pieces of this cardigan that I'm working on in here, pieces at a time. Oops. So this is the yarn cake. There's a lot of yarn on these. So it's 491 yards in a cake. And this is the Mushishi it's from Plymouth Yarn, and Mushishi is the name of the yarn. It's 95% wool and 5% silk. Sorry, my cat is chewing on something that I dropped, so I had to get her out of the way. And this is actually souvenir yarn. We went on a trip to Alaska 5 or 6 years ago. We took a cruise ship from Vancouver up to Alaska to visit friends that were posted there with the military. My husband is former Canadian Forces member, so we have many friends still in the military. Got to sniff my yarn, it smells so good. So I purchased enough for a cardigan, and the pattern is is by Jane Ellison. I've listed on my Ravelry page, which is under four boys with a number 4 and an NL girl. So you can go to my Ravelry page and look at the project page, and you can see it's called the Ayrton sweater. And at least according to Ravelry, it appears I'm the only person that has ever knit this sweater, because there's no other links, which is unusual for a pattern, but there's nothing else there. So the name of the book that it's from is the Noro family book. I'm not using Noro though, as I said, I'm using Mushubishi, and it's in the Harvest colorway. And it's just gorgeous. It makes a gorgeous fabric. So this is the sweater. So right now I have to knit 27.5 stitches of the of stocking stitch, or initially garter stitch, now stocking stitch, and I have lost 3 stitches, so I need to be careful there. So I can pick those back up. Bear with me. There we go. One missing. So on this one, I also have this gorgeous little progress marker. Hopefully you can see that. This is from a Canadian designer, and I'm going to have to look up, I think it's Froggy Tree Designs. I'll put on the screen where it's from. I got 2. One here that I'm using as a progress marker. The other one is on my project bag, which is this gorgeous, so it's a zipper pull, this gorgeous tree. Hopefully the camera will focus on that, because I can't tell I'm using a camera and not an iPad or an iPhone to see if it's focusing. We'll see how this works out. So that's, right now I'm working on the right side of the cardigan. It's more of a sweater coat. It's knee length, and once I'm finished the right side, I'm finished the sweater. It is, so I really hope that the next time I do one of these podcasts, I'll be able to show you a finished product. That would be awesome. So those, the hoe, the sock in progress, and the cardigan, those are the 2 things I'm concentrating on. I am working on some other knitted projects that I will show you in another podcast, because I really want to use this podcast as incentive to keep me getting projects finished. So I'm hoping if I tell you about it now, then next time I podcast, I can show you a finished object. Something else that I'm going to show you, I'm going to move over to stitching for a second, and then I'm going to talk about some stash enhancements. So I am a cross stitcher. When I first started making things, just going down that road of creativity, I started with cross stitch, and recently I've returned back to it. I absolutely love it. I don't do it all the time. I do find it, cross stitching gorgeous, but I find it time consuming, and it's hard sometimes to concentrate in my house of 3 boys who happen to be in school right now for the first time ever in 10 years. I have all 3 boys in school, and it's wonderful and weird. Hi, Angel. So this is what I'm working on right now. Hopefully you can see that. It's a birdhouse, 3 butterflies at the bottom. And it's a pattern that we used to live in Germany. One of our postings with the military, with the Canadian military, was in Germany. And I purchased this pattern actually in Holland. It's by Marjolaine Baston. I think that's how you pronounce her name. But that's the finished product there. So I'm about halfway done. I've got this part is finished. I've almost got the butterflies finished, but then I have all this huge area up here with the flowers that I need to finish. So that's going to be fairly big. So like I said, about 50% done. And I just love it. So, and I'm really, really keen to have it finished. So that's giving me incentive to work on it fairly regularly. The next part of the podcast I'm going to talk about is yarn or stash enhancements. So this is the section of the podcast where I talk to you about yarn that I've purchased or things that I've acquired. So this summer I did make some yarn purchases that I'm really excited about. We went to a shop on the west coast of Newfoundland and Labrador when we were out on family holiday this year. And there I purchased a couple of things. The first one is, and the shop's name was Mala, M-A-L-A, and it's in Corner Brook on Elizabeth Avenue. It's, I think it's Elizabeth Avenue. No, it's not. It is, I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember, Broadway, I think, is the name of the street. So I got this gorgeous tea towel. I don't know if you can see that there. It's got a mug, and it's got a ball of yarn and knitting needles. And this was designed especially by Atelier West Studios. I'll put their information. They've got a link on from Facebook. And their apparently this is supposed to be a really high quality tea towel, and I hope that it is, because I'm looking for really high quality tea towels. We're trying to replace out our old ones and getting new ones. I also purchased, and this is the sock yarn that I'm going to use for my husband's socks for Christmas. He knows about them, so it's not a secret. It's West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, 75% wool, 35% of that is blue-faced Leicester, and 25% nylon. It's made in Yorkshire. So it's kind of ironic or odd in the way that I went to the west coast of Newfoundland and Labrador and purchased British wool. But it's really squishy, and I love the colors. It's a little bit more colorful than he usually wears, but he's starting to like some slightly brighter colors in his socks that he wears outside of work. He usually just wears black for work. So there's that. Another purchase that I made was when we were in British Columbia, unfortunately, for a death in the family. And one of those, the days after the funeral and everything was over, a good friend of ours brought me out shopping to kind of take a break from everything that was happening. And we went to 2 yarn shops in Victoria, British Columbia. We went to Beehive Yarn Shop, which is where I purchased this Sweet Georgia sock yarn for my shawl. And I also picked up 3 more skeins for another shawl I'm interested in working on that I'd seen at the shop. So this is Tough Love Sock, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 425 yards. The colorway is Deep Cove. This again is Tough Love Sock by Sweet Georgia Yarns, and the dye lot is West Wind. Isn't that gorgeous? It's got a bit of greens in it and blues. And then this one is definitely green, and again Tough Love Sock, and that one's called Melon. Suits it. So those were all purchased at Beehive Yarn Shop. And then we went to another shop that I'd never heard of before called Knotty. That's Knotty by Nature. Beautiful little shop. Owner is really friendly. They had a lot of different things there to look at and to purchase that I really enjoyed that. They do classes. They were an awesome shop. And I found this, and I don't know if you pronounce it Joma yarn or Yoma yarn. And this is, they have a website that I'll put on the screen if I figure out how. And it's called Blingarino because it's 84% superwash merino and 16% stellina. It's a 3-ply fingering sock. And the colorway is called Sealed with a Kiss. And I love, you see the sparkle? I love the sparkle. The other thing I love about this is that it's spun in Canada and hand dyed on Vancouver Island. So Sweet Georgia is made in Vancouver, so that's not too far away from Victoria. But this one is actually made on Vancouver Island. So I really like that about this particular yarn. And I'm going to make a pair of blingy socks out of this in a while, after my husband's are done. So it'll probably be after Christmas before I touch this. And the other stash enhancement that I have is, I watch Grocery Girls podcast, as I'm sure a lot of you out there watch. Grocery Girls and Legacy Knits are the 2 podcasts that started me into watching podcasts. And because I hadn't watched a podcast until about 3 months ago. 3, maybe 4 months ago now. And I started watching on Sandra from Cherry Heart blog and Cherry Heart podcast, had on her blog post one day listed something about a stitching revolution from Legacy Knits, and from the Legacy Knits podcast. So I wanted to look that up because although I've been cross-stitching, I hadn't heard about anybody else cross-stitching recently. Most people that I know of have cross-stitched years ago and gave it up years ago. And so this Sue apparently was talking about Stitching Revolution on Instagram. So I joined Instagram as well and got and started looking at all these makers and creators who were doing stitching, and well, I guess there's been a resurgence in the cross-stitch arena that I wasn't aware of. So I guess now I'm doing something. I'm usually late to the party, so I guess in this instance I'm actually about on for the party, which is awesome. So I showed you my cross stitch that I'm working on, and apparently that's really in right now, so who knew? Anyway, back to the Grocery Girls podcast. They had, one of their readers had sent in yarn for them to look at, and they had a sale on for free shipping to anywhere. So I decided to go to they're on Etsy, to their Etsy shop. And I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right. I think it's Yakaheni yarns. Yakaheni yarns. And I purchased 2 skeins of their Yak sock. It's a hand-dyed 3-ply fingering weight yarn. 100% superwash merino. And it has 490 yards, so it would be awesome for a shawl as well instead of just socks. Sorry, there's somebody walking down the road with their dog, so I'm getting distracted. I'll put their Etsy shop on the screen. Hopefully I'll figure out how to do that. This is the Bejeweled colorway. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm really love the fall, and these colors, teals and purples and yellows and sort of a rusty color, I think that's beautiful. So that was one of the, so there's that Yak sock. And then the other one I picked out, you can see there's a fall theme going here. This one is called Autumn Orchard. And it smells so good. It smells good, it's squishy. I'm not sure if I'm going to use either one of these for socks or for a shawl. Now that I've started knitting shawls, I might use one of them for a shawl, I'm not sure. But anyway, they're just simply gorgeous. Got here, dyed up really quick and sent to me really quick. So thank you very much for doing that for me. And that's about all that I included for the podcast today. I'm going to try and cut out all the times that I say because I say a lot when I'm thinking. Thank you very much for watching. I had hoped this podcast would be around half an hour long, so I have no idea how long I've been recording. I'm not sure what the sound quality is going to be like with my camera recording, so I'm hoping that that's pretty good. And there's not a whole lot of wind background noise or dog barking background noise, or if there is, that you can still hear above me. I'd like to thank Danny at Little Bobbins and Lynn at Sunshine and Bubblegum Podcasts. Both of those ladies kind of encouraged me to introduce me to the possibility of doing my own podcast. And hopefully this is something I will start doing regularly. I'm not sure. I'm not going to commit yet. We'll see how this process goes with the editing and the posting. And I write a regular blog, or a blog journal at Fourboysandanlgirl.blogspot.ca or .com, I should say. And so I want to make sure that I'm still writing blog posts, but I also want to do something a little bit different so people could see my Spindrift shawl and know that that was finished. And I'll probably write a blog post about it as well, but I wanted to do something a little bit different and see if people are interested in potentially watching me doing a podcast. So thanks. This has been a good experience. A little bit, like I said, still a little bit scary. And I hope that I can get this edited and posted on YouTube so that you can all get a chance to watch it and see what I'm working on. So until next time, thanks. And I hope you get as much making done in the run of a day and a week as you want to. Thanks. Bye-bye.